Where there's a will, there's a way. If someone is determined to achieve something, they will find a method or solution, no matter how challenging the situation may be. Despite having limited resources, the team built a functional prototype. It just goes to show that where there's a will, there's a way. Maria was determined to learn French even without formal lessons. She found free online resources and practiced daily, proving that where there's a will, there's a way. After losing his job, Raj found a way to turn his hobby into a successful business. He often says, "Where there's a will, there's a way." They were told it was impossible to reach the village during the storm, but their determination proved that where there's a will, there's a way. The charity faced numerous challenges, yet they managed to raise enough funds for their cause, living proof that where there's a will, there's a way. Good manners don't cost anything. Politeness and courteous behavior require no effort or expense, but can make a big positive difference in interactions with others. He always greets everyone with a smile and polite words. Good manners don't cost anything, and it makes such a difference. Even though she's one of the busiest people I know, she never forgets to say thank you, because good manners don't cost anything. At the meeting, John made a point to acknowledge everyone's contributions. Good manners don't cost anything, but they go a long way in building good relationships. When helping others, remember that good manners don't cost anything, and showing respect can make even a simple gesture feel special. He might not have a lot of money, but he knows that good manners don't cost anything, and he treats everyone with kindness and respect. Always ask. They can only say no. It's always worth asking for something you want or need, because the worst possible outcome is simply being denied, which leaves you no worse off than before. She was hesitant to request a raise, but I reminded her, always ask. They can only say no, and she got the promotion. If you're unsure about something, don't be afraid to ask. Always ask. They can only say no. It's better than wondering. I was nervous to ask for an extension on the deadline, but then I thought, always ask. They can only say no. So, I did, and they agreed. When trying something new, always remember, always ask. They can only say no. It's a simple way to overcome fear of rejection. He didn't think he could get the job, but I told him, always ask. They can only say no. It worked, and he got the interview. You're not marrying one, you're marrying the whole family. When you marry someone, you also become connected to their family and must navigate those relationships, as they will influence your life together. When James proposed, his friends reminded him, "You're not marrying one, you're marrying the whole family." It's important to consider both partners' families before committing. She was nervous about meeting her partner's parents, but her grandmother reassured her, "You're not marrying one, you're marrying the whole family." Before getting serious with him, she had to make sure she was comfortable with his relatives, because you're not marrying one, you're marrying the whole family. They had been dating for months, but when it came time to plan their future, he reminded her, "You're not marrying one, you're marrying the whole family." That's why he was so involved with his siblings. When Sarah started dating Adam, her mom told her, "You're not marrying one, you're marrying the whole family." And that made her think carefully about how well she would get along with his relatives. Find the good in everybody. Look for and appreciate the positive qualities in every person, even if their flaws are more apparent, as everyone has something valuable to offer. No matter how difficult the situation, she always tries to find the good in everybody, believing that everyone has something valuable to offer. He reminded us to find the good in everybody as we work through the team's disagreements, encouraging us to see each other's strengths. It's easy to judge others, but remember to find the good in everybody. You'll be surprised by the kindness people can show when you look beyond first impressions. His grandmother always taught him to find the good in everybody, which helped him form lasting friendships, even with people who seemed different at first. Whenever she meets someone new, her first instinct is to find the good in everybody, and it's one of the reasons she's so well-liked by others. Don't cry before you try. Don't give up or get discouraged before you've even attempted something. You might surprise yourself with what you can accomplish. Before you give up on your new project, remember, don't cry before you try. You might surprise yourself with what you can achieve. She was worried about the challenge ahead, but her mentor told her, don't cry before you try, reminding her to put in the effort first. When faced with a difficult task, he always remembers, don't cry before you try, and it encourages him to push through the initial frustration. I know it seems hard right now, but don't cry before you try. Start by taking small steps and see how much progress you can make. He was feeling defeated by the idea of moving to a new city, but his friend reminded him, don't cry before you try. It's all about embracing the challenge first. There are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. Asking questions, no matter how simple they may seem, is always valuable. The fault lies with those who give dismissive or unhelpful responses. In the workshop, the instructor encouraged everyone to ask anything, saying, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. It helped everyone feel more comfortable. When she was new to the job, her manager reassured her, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers, so she never hesitated to ask for clarification. The teacher always told us, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers, so we felt free to ask anything during class without fear of judgment. During the meeting, he reminded his team, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers, encouraging everyone to speak up and contribute their thoughts. At the seminar, the host told the attendees, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers, which made everyone feel more confident about asking for help. Pretty is as pretty does. True beauty is reflected in actions and character, not just in physical appearance. She always emphasized to her children that pretty is as pretty does, teaching them that kindness and good deeds are what truly make someone beautiful. He was handsome, but his rude behavior proved that pretty is as pretty does. True beauty comes from how you treat others. The young girl was praised for her looks, but her grandmother reminded her, pretty is as pretty does, encouraging her to focus on inner beauty and good actions. At the party, she was the center of attention, but her mother gently reminded her that pretty is as pretty does. Her actions matter more than her appearance. He was charming at first, but when he acted selfishly, his friend said, pretty is as pretty does, meaning his true character showed through. Treat others as you would like to be treated. Act toward others with the kindness, respect, and fairness you'd want for yourself, often called the golden rule. He always reminds his children to treat others as you would like to be treated, encouraging them to show kindness and respect to everyone they meet. In her workplace, she strives to treat others as you would like to be treated, creating a positive and supportive environment for her colleagues. When navigating conflicts with friends, she tries to keep in mind the principle of treat others as you would like to be treated to ensure that she responds with empathy and fairness. The coach emphasized the importance of respect, saying, treat others as you would like to be treated, both on and off the field. As a volunteer, he always follows the golden rule to treat others as you would like to be treated, making sure each person feels valued and heard. You can't control what others do, only your own reactions. While you have no power over other people's actions, you have the ability to manage how you respond to them. When faced with criticism, she remembered that you can't control what others do, only your own reactions, and chose to stay calm and respond positively. He was frustrated by the decisions of his coworkers, but his friend reminded him, you can't control what others do, only your own reactions, so he focused on staying productive instead. During the heated debate, she kept her composure, knowing you can't control what others do, only your own reactions. It helped her maintain a sense of peace. When dealing with difficult family members, he found solace in remembering that you can't control what others do, only your own reactions. It made him more patient and understanding. At times when things didn't go as planned, she would remind herself, you can't control what others do, only your own reactions, and that helped her stay grounded and focused. Don't buy what you can't afford. Avoid spending money on things you don't have the means to pay for, as it can lead to financial trouble. Before making a large purchase, her parents always reminded her, don't buy what you can't afford, teaching her the value of saving and budgeting. He was tempted by the latest gadget, but he remembered his financial goals and decided, don't buy what you can't afford. When it came time to buy a car, she stuck to her budget because her grandmother always told her, don't buy what you can't afford. In the middle of a shopping spree, she paused and thought, don't buy what you can't afford, and put the items back to avoid unnecessary debt. His friends often joked about his impulsive spending, but he soon learned, don't buy what you can't afford, and became more mindful of his purchases. Remember that things don't make you happy, people do. Material possessions are not the source of true happiness. Meaningful relationships and connections with others bring lasting joy. After buying a new car, she realized that things don't make you happy, people do. Spending time with her family brought her more joy than any material possession. He was always focused on acquiring the latest gadgets, but his friend reminded him, remember that things don't make you happy, people do. Spending quality time with loved ones made him feel fulfilled. After a long week of shopping, she realized that things don't make you happy, people do, and she decided to spend her weekend with friends instead. She had a beautiful home filled with all the latest decor, but she remembered that things don't make you happy, people do, so she started prioritizing relationships over possessions. On his birthday, he reflected on all the gifts he'd received and thought, remember that things don't make you happy, people do. It was the love and laughter shared with his friends and family that made the day special. You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Being kind and polite is more effective in getting what you want than being rude or abrasive. She always approaches her co-workers with kindness, believing that you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. It helps build better relationships at work. When negotiating with clients, he knew that you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar, so he made sure to be friendly and patient rather than aggressive. He learned early in life that you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Being polite and respectful helped him get along with others much better than being harsh. When her children were misbehaving, she remembered that you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar and used gentle encouragement instead of scolding. During the meeting, she used a calm and positive tone because she knew you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. It made the team more receptive to her ideas. Two wrongs don't make a right. Responding to bad behavior with similar actions doesn't resolve the situation and can often make things worse. When they argued about who started the fight, their teacher reminded them, two wrongs don't make a right. Retaliating with more anger wouldn't solve the problem. He was upset after being treated unfairly, but his mother reminded him, two wrongs don't make a right. Responding with the same behavior wouldn't make things better. In the debate, she pointed out that two wrongs don't make a right, urging the group to find a solution without resorting to unfair tactics. Even though he was angry about the lie, he realized that two wrongs don't make a right and chose to address the issue calmly instead of seeking revenge. After the argument, she knew two wrongs don't make a right, so she apologized for her part in the conflict and tried to make amends. Watch what you step in. Be mindful of potential mistakes or troubles before taking action, as careless decisions can lead to problems. As they walked through the park, he warned his friend, "Watch what you step in," pointing out the muddy patches on the path. When hiking through the woods, the guide reminded the group to watch what you step in, as there were plenty of thorny bushes and uneven ground. She was so busy texting that she didn't notice the puddle in front of her. Her friend said, "Watch what you step in," just in time to save her shoes from getting soaked. Walking through the construction site, the foreman cautioned, "Watch what you step in," because there were a lot of hazardous materials around. While navigating through the crowded street, he told his little brother, "Watch what you step in," reminding him to be careful about where he walked. Cow turds are a cattleman's dollar signs. It all depends on how you look at it. Even unpleasant things can have value if you see them from the right perspective. Success often comes from how you interpret and use what you have. The rancher smiled as he collected the manure for fertilizer, thinking, "Cow turds are a cattleman's dollar signs. It all depends on how you look at it. What others might see as waste, he saw as a valuable resource." When his friend complained about the mess in the barn, he replied, "Cow turds are a cattleman's dollar signs. It all depends on how you look at it." After all, it was a key part of maintaining healthy soil for the crops. While others complained about the smell, the farmer saw opportunity, saying, "Cow turds are a cattleman's dollar signs. It all depends on how you look at it. Manure could be sold or used to improve the land." She chuckled when her colleague grumbled about cleaning the stables, saying, "Cow turds are a cattleman's dollar signs. It all depends on how you look at it. The waste they worked with today would lead to prosperity tomorrow." When the drought made resources scarce, the old rancher reminded his son, "Cow turds are a cattleman's dollar signs. It all depends on how you look at it," encouraging him to find value in every part of the farming process. Teamwork makes the dream work. Achieving great things is much easier and more effective when people work together and collaborate. During the big project, the manager reminded everyone that teamwork makes the dream work, stressing the importance of collaboration to meet their deadline. As the team worked together on the charity event, they realized that teamwork makes the dream work. Everyone's contributions were vital to its success. He always believed in teamwork makes the dream work, so when faced with a challenging task, he made sure to involve the whole team for creative solutions. The coach rallied the players before the final game, saying, "Teamwork makes the dream work," inspiring them to trust each other and play as a unit. She told her colleagues, "Teamwork makes the dream work," reminding them that combining their individual strengths would help them achieve their collective goals. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. Personal growth and identity are shaped by the choices you make and the life you build, rather than passively waiting to discover who you are. After facing a major setback, she realized that life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself, and took the opportunity to reinvent her career path. He often told his students, "Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself," encouraging them to take charge of their futures and shape their own destinies. When struggling with personal growth, she reminded herself, "Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself," and decided to focus on building the person she wanted to become. After graduating, he embraced the idea that life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself, and set out to build the life he truly envisioned. She believed strongly in the philosophy that life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself, and dedicated herself to constantly evolving and pursuing new passions. What we think determines what happens to us, so if we want to change our lives, we need to stretch our minds. Our mindset and thoughts have a powerful influence on our reality, so expanding our thinking can lead to significant personal growth and change. He always reminded himself that what we think determines what happens to us, so if we want to change our lives, we need to stretch our minds. By staying open to new ideas, he was able to achieve his goals. When facing challenges, she told herself, what we think determines what happens to us, so if we want to change our lives, we need to stretch our minds, and started thinking more creatively to solve her problems. His mentor once told him, what we think determines what happens to us, so if we want to change our lives, we need to stretch our minds. It inspired him to seek knowledge and growth in all areas of life. As they worked on the project, the team kept reminding each other that what we think determines what happens to us, so if we want to change our lives, we need to stretch our minds, pushing themselves to think outside the box. She realized that if she wanted to make a positive change, what we think determines what happens to us, so if we want to change our lives, we need to stretch our minds, and she began to challenge her limiting beliefs. Fair? The fair is 2 weeks in the fall. Life isn't always fair, and expecting it to be can lead to disappointment. Instead, focus on what you can control. When he complained about how things were going, his grandmother chuckled and said, fair. The fair is 2 weeks in the fall, reminding him that life isn't always going to be fair. She was frustrated about the situation, and her father calmly responded, fair? The fair is 2 weeks in the fall, implying that fairness isn't guaranteed, and it's important to adapt. During the heated discussion, he pointed out, fair? The fair is 2 weeks in the fall, suggesting that fairness is often a matter of perspective and life doesn't always follow a fair path. When his team was upset about their ranking, the coach said, fair. The fair is 2 weeks in the fall, teaching them that life is full of challenges, and sometimes fairness is not part of the equation. She sighed and said, fair? The fair is 2 weeks in the fall, acknowledging that life's realities don't always line up with expectations. One man's trash is another man's treasure. What one person sees as worthless might be highly valuable or useful to someone else. He couldn't believe someone was willing to buy the old furniture he was about to throw out, but then he remembered, one man's trash is another man's treasure. When they were cleaning out the attic, she found some old books and said, one man's trash is another man's treasure. She was excited to donate them to someone who would appreciate them. He was about to toss his collection of vintage toys, but his friend reminded him, one man's trash is another man's treasure. It turns out, someone else was eager to take them. She sold a few of her old clothes at the thrift store, remembering that one man's trash is another man's treasure. What she no longer needed might be perfect for someone else. As they cleared the yard, they found old tools and equipment that seemed useless to them. But one man's trash is another man's treasure, and soon they were being sold to collectors. The greatest day in your life is when you take total responsibility for your attitudes. That's the day you truly grow up. Maturity and personal growth begin when you acknowledge that your reactions and attitudes are within your control, regardless of external circumstances. After years of blaming others for his unhappiness, he finally understood that the greatest day in your life is when you take total responsibility for your attitudes. That's the day you truly grow up. It was a turning point in his personal growth. She used to feel like the world was against her, but once she took responsibility for her own reactions, she realized that the greatest day in your life is when you take total responsibility for your attitudes. That's the day you truly grow up. He was struggling with his career, but soon discovered that the greatest day in your life is when you take total responsibility for your attitudes. That's the day you truly grow up. Changing his perspective helped him take control of his future. She encouraged her students by saying, "The greatest day in your life is when you take total responsibility for your attitudes. That's the day you truly grow up." She wanted them to understand how powerful their mindset could be in shaping their success. As he faced challenges in his personal relationships, he remembered that the greatest day in your life is when you take total responsibility for your attitudes. That's the day you truly grow up. It helped him approach problems with maturity and understanding. True freedom is understanding that we have a choice in who and what we allow to have power over us. Real independence comes from recognizing that we can decide what influences us and where we focus our energy and emotions. After years of feeling controlled by his circumstances, he finally realized that true freedom is understanding that we have a choice in who and what we allow to have power over us. It was liberating to take control of his own responses. She always taught her children that true freedom is understanding that we have a choice in who and what we allow to have power over us, encouraging them to think for themselves and not be swayed by outside pressures. In his journey of self-discovery, he found that true freedom is understanding that we have a choice in who and what we allow to have power over us, allowing him to release toxic influences in his life. When she realized she didn't need to rely on other people's opinions for happiness, she embraced the idea that true freedom is understanding that we have a choice in who and what we allow to have power over us. As he worked through personal challenges, he came to understand that true freedom is understanding that we have a choice in who and what we allow to have power over us, and he began to reclaim control over his emotional well-being. You're only as old as you feel. Age is more about your mindset and how you perceive yourself than the number of years you've lived. Even though he was turning 60, he told his friends, "You're only as old as you feel," and he felt like he was still in his prime, full of energy and excitement. She stayed active and vibrant well into her 70s, always saying, "You're only as old as you feel," which helped her maintain a youthful outlook on life. When people asked her how she stayed so young, she would smile and say, "You're only as old as you feel," and that kept her motivated to stay positive and engaged in new experiences. After finishing his first marathon at 50, he proved that you're only as old as you feel, showing that age is just a number when you have the right mindset. He never let his age stop him from pursuing new hobbies because he believed you're only as old as you feel, and he felt as energetic and curious as he did in his youth. A rolling stone gathers no moss. Staying active and moving, physically, mentally, or emotionally, prevents stagnation and helps avoid unwanted attachments or burdens. He never stayed in one place for long, and his friends often joked, "A rolling stone gathers no moss," referring to his constant need for change and adventure. She moved from city to city for work, and while some admired her for it, others reminded her that a rolling stone gathers no moss, meaning she never allowed herself to settle down and build lasting connections. As he switched careers every few years, his mentor wisely said, "A rolling stone gathers no moss," cautioning him that constant movement might prevent him from establishing a solid foundation. They admired his wanderlust and thirst for new experiences, but his mother often reminded him, "A rolling stone gathers no moss," urging him to think about creating stability in his life. He loved the idea of always staying busy and moving forward, but his friend cautioned him, "A rolling stone gathers no moss," suggesting that without slowing down, he might miss out on long-term achievements or deeper relationships. Early to bed and early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. Maintaining a disciplined schedule, particularly by sleeping early and waking early, promotes good health, productivity, and sound decision-making. Growing up, his parents always told him, Early to bed and early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. And he took their advice to heart, finding success in both his career and personal life. She adopted the habit of waking up early every day, believing that early to bed and early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise, and soon found that it improved her productivity and overall well-being. His grandmother often reminded him that early to bed and early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. And he started following her advice, noticing more energy and a clearer mind throughout the day. As she prepared for a big project, she made sure to go to bed early, remembering that early to bed and early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. It helped her feel more focused and organized. He felt more motivated than ever to start his mornings early, realizing that early to bed and early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise was not just an old saying, but a key to a productive life. Happiness is not by chance, but by choice. True happiness comes from the decisions we make and our attitude toward life, rather than external circumstances. She realized that happiness is not by chance, but by choice. So she began making more intentional decisions to focus on the positive aspects of her life. After facing several challenges, he learned that happiness is not by chance, but by choice, and started choosing gratitude over frustration every day. When people asked her the secret to her cheerful attitude, she would smile and say, "Happiness is not by chance, but by choice," reminding them that joy comes from how you respond to life. He believed that happiness is not by chance, but by choice. So he made an effort to cultivate meaningful relationships and pursue activities that brought him joy. As he went through tough times, he kept in mind that happiness is not by chance, but by choice, and started taking small steps each day to create a more fulfilling life for himself. If you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another one. If you're unhappy with your current path in life, take steps to create a new one that aligns with your goals and values. After years of dissatisfaction with his career, he decided that if you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another one, and began pursuing his passion for writing. She wasn't happy in her current relationship, so she reminded herself, if you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another one, and took the brave step to make a change. Feeling unfulfilled in her job, she thought, if you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another one, and enrolled in courses to shift her career in a new direction. When the business partnership wasn't working out, he told his colleague, if you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another one, encouraging them to explore new opportunities. He had been stuck in a rut for months, but finally realized, if you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another one, and started making changes to improve his mental and physical health. A rising tide lifts all boats. When the general situation improves, it benefits everyone involved, even those at different levels or positions. The new economic policies helped everyone in the community, proving that a rising tide lifts all boats. When the economy improves, it benefits everyone, not just the wealthy. The success of the tech startup had a ripple effect on the local economy, and the CEO often said, "A rising tide lifts all boats," meaning that when businesses thrive, everyone reaps the benefits. The company invested in the local schools, believing that a rising tide lifts all boats. By helping improve education, they were fostering a better future for everyone in the area. When the city implemented new infrastructure projects, they remembered that a rising tide lifts all boats. Improved roads, parks, and public spaces benefited not just the wealthy, but the entire community. As the team improved, the coach reminded them that a rising tide lifts all boats, emphasizing that each player's success contributed to the overall success of the team. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't form opinions about people or things based solely on appearances. There's often more to them than meets the eye. At first, he didn't think much of the new team member because of their quiet demeanor, but he soon realized don't judge a book by its cover, as she had exceptional skills and ideas. She hesitated to try the new restaurant because it looked unremarkable from the outside, but then she remembered don't judge a book by its cover and decided to give it a chance. The food was amazing. He looked at the old, weathered car and thought it wasn't worth the price, but then he recalled don't judge a book by its cover and discovered it was in excellent condition under the hood. She initially thought her colleague was rude because of his serious expression, but she quickly learned don't judge a book by its cover, as he was one of the kindest people she had met at work. The book didn't look appealing on the shelf, but when she picked it up and started reading, she realized don't judge a book by its cover. It turned out to be a captivating story. You're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. You possess more courage, strength, and intelligence than you give yourself credit for. Trust in your capabilities. During a tough exam, she reminded herself, you're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think, giving her the courage to push through and finish strong. When he doubted his ability to start a new business, his mentor said, you're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think, encouraging him to trust in his abilities. She was overwhelmed with the challenges ahead, but her best friend reassured her, you're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think, helping her find the confidence to face the obstacles. As he prepared for a big presentation, he whispered to himself, you're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think, reminding himself that he had everything he needed to succeed. When she was hesitant to speak up in the meeting, her colleague gently said, you're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think, inspiring her to share her ideas with confidence. The early bird catches the worm. Those who act or start something early are more likely to achieve success or gain an advantage. She always arrived early to work, believing that the early bird catches the worm, and it helped her get a head start on the day's tasks before the office got busy. He set his alarm for 5 a.m., reminding himself that the early bird catches the worm, so he could get a jump on his project before the distractions of the day began. When it came to booking tickets for the concert, she knew the early bird catches the worm, so she made sure to buy them as soon as they went on sale. As the competition for the job was fierce, he followed the saying, the early bird catches the worm, and applied as soon as the position was posted. She always made it a habit to start her day early because the early bird catches the worm, and she liked to be productive before the world awoke. Each day comes bearing its gifts. Untie the ribbon. Every day offers new opportunities and blessings, but you must embrace them with an open heart and mind. As he stepped out the door, he smiled, knowing that each day comes bearing its gifts. Untie the ribbon, and he was ready to embrace whatever surprises the day had in store. She woke up with a positive attitude, remembering that each day comes bearing its gifts. Untie the ribbon, and looked forward to what new opportunities the day would bring. Whenever she felt stuck, she would remind herself, each day comes bearing its gifts. Untie the ribbon, encouraging herself to approach each day with curiosity and gratitude. He greeted the morning with a sense of wonder, knowing that each day comes bearing its gifts. Untie the ribbon, and he was excited to see what new experiences would unfold. She began her day with a sense of excitement, embracing the idea that each day comes bearing its gifts. Untie the ribbon, ready to discover the blessings and challenges the day would offer. Expecting the world to treat you fairly because you are a good person is a little like expecting the bull not to attack you because you are a vegetarian. Life is not always fair, and being virtuous does not guarantee fair treatment. Prepare for challenges regardless of your goodness. When he complained about his lack of success, his mentor told him, expecting the world to treat you fairly because you are a good person is a little like expecting the bull not to attack you because you are a vegetarian. It was a reminder that life doesn't always operate on fairness, regardless of personal virtues. She had always been kind to others, but when things didn't go her way, her friend reminded her, expecting the world to treat you fairly because you are a good person is a little like expecting the bull not to attack you because you are a vegetarian. It helped her accept that challenges come regardless of how good we are. After facing a setback at work, he was frustrated and said, "It's not fair." His colleague responded, expecting the world to treat you fairly because you are a good person is a little like expecting the bull not to attack you because you are a vegetarian, encouraging him to accept that life can be unpredictable. She thought that doing everything right would lead to success, but after facing unexpected obstacles, she remembered, expecting the world to treat you fairly because you are a good person is a little like expecting the bull not to attack you because you are a vegetarian, teaching her that fairness isn't always guaranteed. When he expressed disappointment about not being recognized for his hard work, his friend chuckled and said, expecting the world to treat you fairly because you are a good person is a little like expecting the bull not to attack you because you are a vegetarian, helping him realize that sometimes the world is indifferent to our personal qualities. Confession is good for the soul. Admitting your mistakes or wrongdoings can bring a sense of relief, healing, and emotional clarity. After years of hiding the truth, she finally admitted her mistakes, feeling that confession is good for the soul, and it brought her a sense of relief and peace. He struggled with guilt for weeks, but when he confessed to his friend, he felt lighter, remembering that confession is good for the soul. She always encouraged her children to be honest, telling them, confession is good for the soul, so that they would understand the importance of being truthful and freeing themselves from guilt. As he sat down with his therapist, he realized that confession is good for the soul and began to open up about the things he had been keeping inside for years. After apologizing to his colleague, he felt a weight lift off his chest, remembering that confession is good for the soul, and it was the first step toward healing. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Achieving something worthwhile often requires making sacrifices or overcoming difficulties along the way. When she was hesitant about taking on the big project, her colleague reminded her, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, meaning that sometimes you have to take risks to achieve something great. He was nervous about making changes to the team, but his coach reassured him, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, suggesting that progress often requires some tough decisions. When they faced setbacks during the construction project, the foreman said, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, reminding the team that challenges were inevitable when working toward a bigger goal. She hesitated to leave her comfort zone, but her mentor told her, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, encouraging her to embrace the challenges that would lead to growth. As they restructured the company, the CEO said, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, acknowledging that some disruption was necessary for long-term success. The grass is greener where you water it. Instead of envying others, invest effort and care in your own life or relationships to make them better. He was always envious of others' success, but his friend reminded him, the grass is greener where you water it, encouraging him to focus on nurturing his own opportunities instead of comparing himself to others. She used to think another job would make her happier, but then she realized the grass is greener where you water it, and decided to invest more effort into improving her current role. When they moved to a new city, he quickly learned that the grass is greener where you water it, meaning that happiness and success come from investing time and energy into the things that matter most. They considered quitting their business, but then they remembered, the grass is greener where you water it, and decided to focus on making their current venture more successful rather than looking for new opportunities elsewhere. As she worked on her relationship, she found that the grass is greener where you water it, and started putting more care and attention into the little things that made their bond stronger. The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fail. True success and resilience are found in overcoming failures and continuing to strive despite setbacks. After losing the competition, she reminded herself that the greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fail, and she immediately started planning for the next challenge. He faced many obstacles in his career, but he always believed that the greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fail, which kept him moving forward despite setbacks. When she struggled with her new business venture, her mentor told her, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fail," inspiring her to keep going and learn from her mistakes. He had been rejected by several publishers, but his friend reminded him, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fail." So he kept submitting his manuscript, determined to succeed. She was discouraged after a difficult year, but she remembered that the greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fail, and decided to start anew, focusing on her growth and resilience. There is no single recipe for success, but there is one essential ingredient: passion. While success can be achieved in many ways, a deep passion for what you do is crucial for sustained effort and fulfillment. As he embarked on his entrepreneurial journey, he realized that there is no single recipe for success, but there is one essential ingredient: passion, and his dedication to his vision kept him moving forward. She believed that success wasn't about following a set path, remembering that there is no single recipe for success, but there is one essential ingredient: passion, which fueled her creativity and hard work. In her motivational speech, the coach reminded the team, "There is no single recipe for success, but there is one essential ingredient: passion," encouraging them to pursue their dreams with heart and enthusiasm. As he faced setbacks in his career, he kept in mind that there is no single recipe for success, but there is one essential ingredient: passion, and he focused on the love he had for his work to overcome challenges. She often told her students, "There is no single recipe for success, but there is one essential ingredient: passion," inspiring them to find what they truly loved and pursue it relentlessly. Never lose hope, and never underestimate the power of prayer. Hold on to optimism and faith, as belief and spiritual practice can provide strength and guidance in challenging times. During a challenging time in her life, she reminded herself, "Never lose hope, and never underestimate the power of prayer," finding comfort and strength in her faith as she navigated the hardships. He was going through a tough period and feeling discouraged, but his grandmother always told him, "Never lose hope, and never underestimate the power of prayer," encouraging him to stay positive and trust that things would improve. As they faced a difficult decision, his friend reassured him, "Never lose hope, and never underestimate the power of prayer," knowing that faith could help them find the guidance they needed. She struggled to find a solution to her problems, but she held on to her belief that never lose hope, and never underestimate the power of prayer, and soon things began to shift in her favor. In the darkest moments of their journey, he reminded the team, "Never lose hope, and never underestimate the power of prayer," motivating them to stay strong and keep believing in a better outcome. Level up your English. Master vocabulary, idioms, and phrasal verbs with fun quizzes. Translate meanings into 104 languages. Download now. Link in the description. Please like and subscribe to our channel.